All right, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 5 of Aqua Eagle Chats. Today, I'm joined by Bridget Zagrobelny, Bridget Wilson, and Phoebe Root. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Great. How are you?
Doing awesome. Can't wait to get started. So, now for my listeners, as you can see, we've got two Bridgets here tonight. So, just to make it a little bit simpler, Bridget Zag on the left, we're going to call her B Zag, and then Bridget Wilson in the middle, we'll call her Bree, just to keep things all in order. And getting started, I like to go through with all of my guests, having them tell me a little bit about how they got into the sport of swimming and what made them decide to keep doing it. So, if you guys could tell me a little bit about your journey, I'd love that.
Yeah, sure. I started swimming when I was 6. It was not my choice. I grew up sort of near the water, and my family was always around it. And my mom, just for like safety reasons, wanted me to be pretty proficient in swimming. And my aunt was the coach of our like Y swim team. And my mom was like to both my little sister and I, she's like, you need to swim for a few years so that I do not have to worry. And, if it goes somewhere from that, that's great. And if not, that's also fine. But it was mostly for like safety purposes. And I was like, I have no interest. Like, I do not want to do it. I'm freezing all the time, which still has not changed. But I was like, I am miserable. I don't like it. It's not for me. And then somewhere from when I was 6 to now, that changed. And now I love it.
I got into swimming through summer swim. It's really big where I'm from. And I started when I was 5, just learning how to swim. And then around when I was in 4th grade, I got a little bit better and transitioned into club swimming and got better from there and just never stopped.
I got into swimming because all of my older siblings were doing it, and my mom wanted us all to be swimmers. So I think I started with my club team when I was 6, and I live in a pretty small town, so it was just a little club team, not very serious. I kind of just went because I was forced to, and I think eventually when I was like 13, I started to actually like it, and then I just went on from there.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. So, interestingly enough, honestly, I've got like a mix of all of your stories in my own journey. So, I started at the Y basically because I was there for after school care. My older brother and my younger sister decided they were going to do it. And, I didn't want to be the odd person out. So, threw myself in there. And then later that year in the summer, I had like a little summer team about half a mile from my house. So, I decided to pick up and do that. And honestly, I never really stopped. But Bree, I know you mentioned that you got into year-round swimming in 4th grade, but Bezag and Phoebe, when did you guys get into year-round swimming? And for all three of you, when did you decide that this was something that you wanted to pursue seriously?
I never did year-round swimming because I swam for the same team that I started on when I was 6, and I'm from Maine. So summer league, like summer swim, is not totally a thing. So I swam pretty consistently from when I was like 10 right up until college. I started in like late September, sometimes a little bit later than that because I ran cross country also, and that was in conflict. But I swam like September through March, pretty much like from when I started up until now. I took the summers off for myself.
I kind of have a similar experience as Phoebe. Summer league is not big where I live. I'm from New York, so it's like not as warm, I guess. But I would be very much like competitive swimming from September, and then championships were always in March. And then I would swim with my same club team in the summer at like the outdoor community pool, but it wasn't that serious. It was just kind of just like keep yourself in shape swimming.
And then for me, I decided to start doing club in 4th grade and get competitive because it was that choice of like you can either do year-round swimming or you can do year-round soccer. Those were the two like rec sports that I was doing, and doing both wouldn't work out with scheduling and school and that sort of thing. So I went with swimming and just got better and better from there and never decided to change my sports.
I think those are all great reasons. And I think that's similar for most of us, where somewhere along the road, you start getting better at it and then you learn to love it because you're good at it. And so kind of to segue that into your college decision. So obviously all three of you and myself, we're all here on the University of Mary Washington swim team. So was there a point maybe in high school or earlier that you knew you wanted to swim in college? And how did you find out about UMW?
My club team, like I said, was a pretty casual ordeal, and so it wasn't very common. There were a few every now and then that went to swim on in college, but I kind of realized around my sophomore year that if if I wanted to swim in college, that was something that I would have to take on, and it would have to come from me. And it wasn't something that a ton of people around me were doing. So I had to really think about it. Like, if swimming's something that's that important to me, where I want to like put this time and energy into it for not only like another 4 years of my life, but also into getting to a school where I could have both like academics and athletics that were going to be on par with me. And I went to a swim camp at Bates College in Maine, like pretty much every summer for a long time, middle school through high school. And there were a few Mary Wash swimmers who were counselors there, who one of them has a record at the pool. And I just was always looking at them, and they always were talking so highly of Mary Wash. And I knew that I wanted to go to school somewhere warm and have a completely new experience from what my swimming and just like what my regular day-to-day life had been. Not that I didn't love it, but I just wanted a change. And this was somewhere warmer than where I lived. It was somewhere that would be right on par with my academics, as well as like I would fit in pretty well with the athletic scene. So then I kind of just started talking to those girls, and the former Mary Wash coach was also a coach there. And I just learned about it through them and visited. And it was also during COVID. So I kind of was just like, yeah, I think I could see myself there, and kind of everything else just fell into place.
I always wanted to swim in college from when I was younger. Like, as soon as I started doing club, my grandma was telling me all this stuff that I was going to go to college and stuff. And so I had to be realistic with myself when I got older and realized that, you know, D3 UMW is probably where I would fit in. But it was still exciting for me to try and get here and be good enough to be here. So yeah, I always knew. It wasn't like any decision when I was looking for schools. I wanted to look at schools that I knew I could swim at and be competitive at. So yeah.
Yeah, I never like had to make that decision. I kind of just was going to assume that I was going into college and I was going to swim. I think a lot of that comes from like, it's always been a part of my life, and I wasn't quite ready to give that up yet. And also all of my older siblings did it. So I was like, they really had a good time with it, and I could see that. And I always went to their meets and saw how much fun it was to be a part of a team, especially a huge team. And I found Mary Washington because my older sister Mary swam here, and I saw how much she loved it. And initially I was like, no way am I going to go to the same school as her. But by like the end of my senior year, I was like, you know what? I really do like Virginia, and I really like the campus here, and the people are very nice, and I fit in well with the team. So I was like, I'm going to do it, and I love it. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So each of you and some of the other guests that I've had on before, with them all being Division III swimmers, have shared that UMW was a great balance both academically and athletically. And I'd be curious to ask a Division I swimmer, you know, perhaps like at the Power 5 level, where they've got a lot of offers, like, did the academics really factor into their decision, or was it mostly the swimming and then the academics came second? So I'd be interested to know that. But what are you all studying here?
I'm studying business, and I have a minor in social justice.
I'm in elementary education.
I'm studying biomedical sciences.
Nice. That's one of the nice things about Division III is you can have that balance to pursue what you love in the classroom, but also still get to do something like Phoebe, you mentioned how you couldn't really see yourself without swimming, right? It was an outlet that you could use to go to every single day. So I think that's something that's really special about this place, and I'm sure a lot of other Division III schools across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bree, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, where you had some of those expectations when you were younger of trying to go to these big schools and swim some of these really fast times. And I want to give all three of you your props. Like, you guys have improved a ton since high school. So even if maybe you thought you were going to end up somewhere higher, it's never too late to improve. And I think that all three of you are great examples of that. And I really feel like, especially watching conferences this year, that culminated for all three of you in the 200s of stroke. So Phoebe, you dropped like 8 seconds or something over the course of this year in the 2 back. And then Bree and Bezag, you guys won the 2 breast and the 2 fly. So that was super awesome to see just how much time you had dropped from the year before, and seeing you guys place so highly and then eventually move on to NCAAs. But before we get there, I'd like to stay on these 200s of stroke for a little bit. What do you think clicked for you this season? Just to talk a little bit strategically about it.
Well, I came into very, very slower than where I am now. Like, I came in like over 15 seconds away from what I swim now in the 200, and I had only swum two back like 2 or 3 times before coming to Mary Wash. And I think that this year and a little bit last year, what finally clicked for me was like Coach Anderson. And he always believed that I could be fast at the 200 back. And I always thought it was ridiculous and that I need to find like maybe the 100 free or another sprint event that I could do. And he kept putting me in it. And sometimes I would get better, sometimes I wouldn't. And then this year I finally saw a lot of progress in that event. And I think it really is just believing in the process. And when coach believes that you can do something, if you believe in your training, then it's all in your mind. Like he prepares us well enough that we are all capable of doing things. We just have to believe it in ourselves. And I think trusting in the process and really believing in what they believe in you. Like I seriously think that that's how I improved this year.
I also came in with a pretty slow, like 200 breast time. I think it's around like, it was like a 2:30, so like 15 seconds slower. And I think like what Phoebe was saying, our training and like trusting the process is such a big thing because Coach Anderson gives us everything that we need to do. But for me, a huge thing was like the mental part of that race. I know like last year and the year before, I really struggled with that and just like staying relaxed mentally because it is like, it's a tough race. It's basically a sprint, but you do need to be strategic. So I had to kind of find a way to stay calm, but also like focused. And I think this year I kind of learned how to do that. So I would say that's where a lot of the improvement came from.
My situation's a little bit different. I actually have only dropped like maybe 3 seconds, if not less, from coming in freshman year till this year. So for me, it's mostly like I know the training I do can get me my times. Like I think I've proven that to myself the past like 3 years that I've been here. But it's very situational. And last year I won my 2 fly. So this year I felt like I had a lot of pressure coming into this meet with these like chips on my shoulder of like the 100 fly and the 200 fly. And then I don't know, I think it was mindset because I had a very hard Saturday of racing. And so I went into Sunday like, I don't even care like what place I get. I just want to do good for myself and feel good about it. And Anderson gave me a strategy for finals and I was just relaxed and was like, I'm going to stick to my plan. And I know that I've trained hard and that like I've done this before so I can do it again. And felt good. And I don't know, I dropped a little bit and won the event again. So I'm happy with it, but I hope next year I can reach a different level. I feel like I've been in my comfort zone for a little bit. So we'll see.
I also just want to go off of what both of them were saying about mindset. For me, I've always been a 100 backstroker. I've always thought about it. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I swim both the 50 and the 100 back, really. And I always think about it. I start thinking about it at the beginning of the meet. And then the 200, it's always my last event. It's always just my third event. Like, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. And I'm like, it's just the 200 back. Like, whatever happens, happens. If I have a good race, that's great. But if not, it's okay. Whereas the 100 is I'm always like, I set very high expectations for myself in that event. And if I don't see the number that I have in my mind, it completely changes my mindset about the rest of the meet. And so for conferences, I kind of had the same thing. And I, like Bree, did not have the Saturday in the 100 back that I was expecting. And so then coming back on Sunday, I was like, a little bit of revenge swimming was in me, but also I just wanted to swim the 200 back and have fun because I love swimming. And I didn't care so much about my place and I didn't super care about my time. I just wanted to go out and swim. And I was very relaxed, like up behind the blocks, both in prelims and finals. And I just was like, I'm up here just to swim, whereas the 100 back, I'm up there and I'm thinking the entire time about every single little detail of the race. And like everybody and coach like expects this and this and this of me from this. Whereas the 200, I don't feel a lot of weight on my shoulders. And I just went up there and I swam an incredible race that I was really proud of. And I think that having that mindset might be the tactic that I should go for now on.
Yeah, wow. That was incredible. So much to unpack there. But first of all, the biggest thing that stuck out to me, and all three of you kind of brought this up, was that so much of the 200 is just confidence in yourself. And a lot of that comes from your coaches and trusting your training. And 2 weeks ago, when I spoke with Coach Anderson on this podcast, he talked about so much of the end of season results. Like there's no magical taper or there's no magical set that might get you there. so much of swimming is mental and it's all about athlete buy-in. And for somebody like me that wants to coach one day, that's super reaffirming. And even as an athlete, I hear that and know that even if I don't like this, it's going to work out as long as I believe in it and trust the process throughout the course of the season. So that was a great point that you all brought up. But, you know, mentally, Bezag, you brought this up, and Phoebe, you as well, that the 200s, they hurt. That's a tough race where, especially in short course, it's a sprint, but it's a tactical sprint as well. And so, Phoebe, we're a little bit similar in that we've kind of came in more like 50 and 100 and then kind of moved into that 200 as well. But even though my club coach, bless his heart, he was trying to get me to take these 200s out so fast for years. But that's definitely something I had to learn to trust in myself with over the years. But just to break a little bit more analytically into these 200s, what are you thinking before you step on the blocks or hop in the water for these races? Like, what's your strategy and what are you thinking throughout the race that's going to get you to that time you want to go?
For me, my strategy is always my underwaters. Like, I don't know if I have a race or like by 50 strategy, which maybe I should, but I always have had confidence in my underwaters, even since I was like a club swimmer. And so I know that if I don't feel great when I'm on the surface or I have a bad start or a bad flip or something, I know that I can make it up underwater. So I just try to focus and hit every single wall. And I know that that can at least get me close, if not a good time that I want, because I have confidence in that aspect, whereas I'm a little bit less confident in my surface swimming.
For me, I know I'm always going to have that adrenaline when I start the 200, which is great. But I think sometimes I'll spin out. So when I do a 200, I try and stay relaxed for the first, 75, because I know I have that adrenaline. I know I'm going to be fast just from my start. So, the first 75, I'll kind of think about just staying long and strong. The next 50, I'll start really pushing it and then, finish with everything I have left. And then just throughout, kind of like what Phoebe was saying, underwaters are so important. And for me, like this year, I started focusing on my pullouts. So getting like halfway underwater off of every wall was a goal for me at practice. So I would say during my race at conferences, that was something that I really tried to pay attention to.
My race strategy changes depending on the situation, the two that I'm doing. I basically do it at every single meet. So when we're in season, I'm like, okay, I need to practice going out hard in my first 100. And I know I'm going to die. I know that's probably going to happen. But I'll practice going out hard so I know how that feels for when I actually go out hard and hopefully finish hard in conferences. And then at NJAX this year, my prelims, I sprinted. Well, I can't help it, but I just sprinted. And then I got really slow my last 50. And after that race, Coach Anderson told me, in finals tonight, you just need to stay at this girl's hips the whole time. And then the last 50, leave it all in the pool. And so that was weird to do that in a final swim at conferences because it felt so wrong not to try as hard as I could from the get-go. But I felt so much more relaxed and my stroke did not fall apart at all. So I think strategy is really important because if I was left to my own devices, I probably would have gone out, tried to beat this girl, and then couldn't finish my race. But then also mental strategy, I think is also important for me because the two fly, my heart is racing right now just thinking about it.
Same.
It's so scary. And what I do is I typically think back, how many two flies have I done this year? How many practices have I done the two fly? One day I did it 8 times in a single practice. So I'm I know I can do it. And one thing my teammate did before I swam finals on Sunday night, they brought up SwimCloud and typed in two fly for under my list of events and showed me every single two fly I ever did. And I was like, you're right. I can do this.
Just one more.
Yeah. So that was something that was really meaningful and helped me get through my race.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Bree, do you want to name drop said teammate? Because I could use some of that sometimes.
It was Kyle Diedrich.
Love Kyle. Nice. So One thing that I heard all you guys talk about was you were working on specific things throughout the season, whether that be dual meets or practices. Like Bree, you were taking it out fast, you were working on pullouts, and Phoebe, you were really cranking out the underwaters. So I think that's really interesting. And that's not something that I hear a lot of people talk about. Like sometimes when I'll like nerd out with like or something, because we'll just be chatting swimming. We'll talk about, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z at practice, or I want to take out my race at this next dual meet in this split because I know when I'm tapered, I can do that and not fall apart. So that was really interesting to hear from you all. And Bree, you mentioned the 8 200s fly, but for the rest of you guys, are there some sets that you remember, and it could be from a coach that's not Coach Anderson, that you really feel like gave you confidence for your races come taper time?
I don't have a specific set, but I love doing like repeated 200s, whether it's like just broken or if it's not broken. They're so painful, but I think they are so helpful because first it's helping you mentally because like you need that stress you need to get over that stress and like feel that. So then when you're racing it, it comes natural to you, or it's like you already experienced it. And then also I feel like it is just the perfect time to think about how you want to race the event, and getting to do it over and over again, just like practice makes perfect or makes better. So I would say I love like doing repeated 200s.
I'm big into 75s. I love my stroke in 75s because it's like short enough to like go fast, but it's not short enough that it's an all-out sprint, and then like I still get tired in 75. So like repeat 75s of stroke, probably my favorite training for the 200. So yeah.
I have like 2 or 3 things that come to mind. The first one to me is like any backstroke set that I do with Kyle Johnson. I always love. He always has a positive attitude about backstroke. He's always asking for more. He's always telling me that I can do better than I can, and he's also way faster than me. So swimming with him is like even just trying not to get like to that line before he's back on the other side is like it always keeps me motivated. And like I said, I wasn't super big into the 2 back until recently. And so he would always, like during those longer backstroke sets where I would be having a hard time, he was just such a positive person and like voice to have in my ear throughout all of those. And so any backstroke set that I do with him, I like my results, and it just makes the environment better. And then I also love doing things off the block at the end of practice. I just feel like even though they're hard and sometimes I hate them in the moment, like I always feel when I go up to the locker room, even if it's not a great swim, sometimes I ask, and I know does this too, we don't ask for our times, but like just wanting to know the feel of like a race and a simulation, and knowing that, okay, so I can get up and I can do 150 back after I just did a 2-hour practice, like, and maybe I also lifted and swim this morning, right? And then I can go up and I can still race and still feel fast. And I think that helps me translate. So then when I get up behind the block, kind of like what Bree was saying with like how many 200s she's done, is like, then it's just one more. I know I can do it after a practice. Why can't I do it in like, conferences or in this dual meet? So I like that. And then also just because I've always been a sprinter, I like the 50-50s that we do, because I just think that the team environment is usually like everybody's hyping each other up and like coach gets really into it, which I like. And so I always have fun doing those.
Yeah, great answers. So just to work backwards, I do like the 50-50s, but Phoebe, I'll agree, racing off the block for me is the big thing. It doesn't really matter necessarily the distance, but that always gets me feeling ready, and even if the time isn't great, even if I'm 3 seconds off what I do in a dual meet in 100, thinking about what I just did for the main set or the lift and the swim in the morning, usually I can rationalize with myself and think that's actually pretty good. So it's definitely a confidence builder. And Bree, I do love the 75s. I know you were talking about them for your 200, but even for me, just for my 100, where last 25, usually the last 10 yards is kind of where I'm known to like fall apart a little bit. So the 75s, I'm still feeling the pain by the end of it, but knowing that if I'm truly pushing it at my top speed, it's going to help me translate that a little bit easier into the actual races. And then Bizag, you talked about like the repeat 200s. I do like those, not all the time, but I know coach has the one practice where it's like 2 rounds of 3 200s
Yeah.
on 3 minutes or something like that. And the last one is all out.
Mhm.
Or maybe it's descend 1 to 3, 4 to 6, something like that. But there would be times freshman and sophomore year that I would push faster on the last one than my dual meet two backs. And Anderson would just be like, that should tell you everything you need to know about what you should be doing in the two back at a dual meet. So great points by all of you. And I feel like we're similar in that we're keeping mental notes of what we like about practices and then using that as confidence. So that's cool to hear. And then I'm going to transition a little bit into a really cool experience that the three of you got this year where you went to NCAAs. BZAG, you competed individually, and then Bree and Phoebe, you guys on relays. But I'd love to hear a little bit about that experience.
Well, I'll say I don't want to speak for those girls, but when I first got there, the first day I was super intimidated. I felt like I was way out of my league, and I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Like, oh my gosh, these girls are all so jacked and like very intimidating, and I'm not sure if I fit in here. And the first few days I kind of had that mindset of like, oh my God, I don't know if this is the place for me. But then when we got up and raced, and I actually had 2 pretty good races that I was proud of, and then just being able to watch my individual events take place at the meet, I kind of was like keeping an eye on the times, and I was like, I actually do think that this is something that I could achieve on my own. And so it's definitely in the back of my mind now, but it was a complete mindset flip. Like the first day I was like completely overwhelmed and felt like I was way out of my league. And I think racing helped me shake some of the jitters out in that area. And then just watching my individual events like unfold, I was like, okay, this isn't completely out of my grasp. And now it's kind of on my radar.
I felt really weird and I can't really explain it. I think maybe it was like part like intimidation and then part like I've never experienced it before. Like it kind of felt like I was at a big club meet just because like we didn't have that big team atmosphere where when you go to NJAX, you're like, all right, we're all here. Like for our women's team, we're trying to win. You're watching all of your teammates race and you're like, okay, they're going into finals in the top 8. What points is that going to get us? Like you're very much focused on like how your team is going to do like overall. And obviously we were still kind of feeling that there was like 6 of us there, just wasn't to as large of a scale as NJAX. So I think that was part of it. And then I also just like, I kept reminding myself or having to remind myself of where I was, and we all should be like impressed with ourselves because I think it was really easy to be like, I don't belong here. Like everyone else here is so fast. And yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but it was exciting.
I would say definitely a humbling experience because we went from being the top team at NJAX to getting actual dead last bet. So it was an experience, but definitely motivating. Like now I've got like a little fire under my butt. Like I need to get back in the pool and train again and try and get back there and be happier with my results. So I'm glad for the experience, but I feel like my work is not done.
Yeah, I can kind of relate. A couple weeks before we came in freshman year, I made it to Futures, and I only qualified like in yards, 100 back by like a 10th of a second. So I was quite literally the slowest person at that meet. And I remember I showed up a little bit late for the race because my coach told me the wrong time to be there. And then I'm in the locker room putting my tech suit on, and there's guys in there literally talking about how they went to Olympic trials a month and a half ago. And it was the craziest imposter syndrome I've ever felt in my entire life. So for you guys saying how you felt a little bit out of place at the beginning of the meet, I think that that's totally understandable. And that's probably a pretty shared experience for people that make it to big meets for the first time ever. But Bree, like you talked about how it's lighting this fire under you, right? You want to come back next year and do bigger things at the meet. And now that you've had this experience to know that you belong, hopefully then it'll be a little bit easier next year. So it's really cool that you guys were, vulnerable and shared that with me. I think that's special. And a lot of athletes can take something from that experience that you've had and apply it into. But last thing before we move into some rapid fire questions, you guys have all talked about how you're hoping Phoebe maybe to make it next year in some individual events. Bree, you were talking about hoping to perform differently at NCAAs, and then BZAG, you as well. You said things felt a little bit off. So just looking towards next year, share whatever you feel comfortable with, but are there any goals that are at the top of your mind maybe that you're thinking about?
For me, I definitely want to make it back. This year I made it individually for the 200 breast, and I would love to make it again in that, and hopefully the 100 breast too. 2 IM would be great if I could do that. And then this year I ended 17th, just missing finals in the 200 breast. So that was really hard. Terrible feeling. So that is basically like lighting, what they were saying, lighting my fire. Like I want to go back and make finals and just like prove myself that I should have been there this year. But that's my big goal for next year. We'll see.
I would obviously like to go back, obviously, with our relay and maybe getting a little individual in there. We'll see, but those are like, it's hard to think about it right now because I feel like we just finished.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm working towards.
Mine's very similar. I think that it would be awesome to have a relay go again. It was fun to be up there with other girls. Like I think I would have been very intimidated just to be on my own, and I think that was also just a special experience to have a group of us there. And I think that would be awesome to continue that into next year. And also, I would love to make it individually. We'll see what happens, but I think it's well within all of our capabilities, and I think it would be awesome, especially if we could all go together. And I also have my own personal goal of I really would like to break the 200 backstroke record. I was very, very close. So if nothing else, I would like that next year.
Yeah, I like how you brought up that you're all capable of it. I would say that, especially as we're going into senior year, your teammates definitely look up to all three of you all. And I think it's something that you guys are capable of doing. And we've got a really good freshman class coming in. I know the three of you all are coming back. I heard Selby might be coming back, but if she's watching this and that's wrong, you got to forgive me. But I think there could be a pretty strong contingent. And maybe on the men's side, got some fast recruits coming in. And Jonathan Zimmer, he was right there. So we're just going to have to see, but I definitely think it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to next year.
I just also wanted to plug that it's not just about us. We also, winning our conference would be huge for us again. And I think that's a big part of motivation to get us, like when we all won our fast times was at that meet because everybody on our team had the same shared goal. And I think that definitely fed into the energy of my races. And so I think that would be awesome to keep doing that for us.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's definitely not a one-person journey. You got to have that support system. So great that you brought that up. All right. So we're going to finish this off with some rapid fire questions. Some of them are ones that I've asked people before, but everyone's going to have a different answer. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. So for starters, what is your favorite place to spend time in Fredericksburg? Like do some kind of meaningful activity, I guess.
I would say outside. Like a lot of us like to walk together or running and just being in the sun, especially now because we just got out of so much rain and winter. So anywhere that's outside in the sun, I love.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say my house. I love our house. And it's where all my friends are, feel comfortable. We've got it just the way we like it. Mm-hmm. Pretty yard. I just feel so comfortable here. So that's my favorite place to be.
Yeah. I would say both because the past couple weeks we've loved walking on outside trails. That's been a big thing. And then, our house. We all love to hang out here and we have the most fun here. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'm waiting for the water to warm up a little bit, get down to the river. That's definitely where I like to be when it warms up. If you weren't a swimmer, what sport, or if there's another activity you can think about, what would you do?
I would do gymnastics. Like I talked about, actually, I don't think it made the cut on this one, but originally I talked about how I also did gymnastics and I had to decide between gymnastics and swimming. And I just love, like, not only like the sport I've always loved of gymnastics, but like just like the look too. And like I love getting dressed up and they like do their hair and like everything like that. And I think I would love that.
I would say probably soccer because that's the other sport I did before I chose swimming. So I would like to think I would have stuck with soccer if that's the route I chose.
I used to do track and field, so I would say maybe track. But I do really like to play soccer, so maybe like for fun I would choose that.
Yeah, good answers. And so let's say hypothetically our school had a swimwear sponsor, right? Like for tech suits and practice suits. Is there a brand that would stick out to you?
I'm a big Speedo fan. Goggles, tech suits. I'm a big fan. That's what I would pick.
I would probably pick Speedo too.
Yeah, definitely Speedo.
Yeah, so Speedo, if you're watching.
Or Lululemon.
Yeah, Lululemon.
What?
If you
But
want,
they don't make tech suits though.
they could.
could.
For us. Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably have the revenue to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then we've got a couple more. So, do you all have any pets? And if so, are any of them at school with you?
oh, I have a beautiful white Siberian Husky named Lumi, and she unfortunately could not stand the Virginia heat, so she lives up in Maine with my parents.
At home, I have a corgi, a pug, and a little cat, old cat. And then here we have a house. Our roommate Megan has a cat, Chestnut. So he lives around with us in our house, under our beds, on our beds.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I have an Australian Shepherd back home. Her name is Olive. And then, yeah, Chestnut's here.
I also have a
Yeah.
cat. I don't really like him, so we don't have to talk about him.
Yeah, I'm not a huge cat person, but I think that's just how I was raised because my dad's allergic. But if I could have a dog up here, I would for sure. If I had the money and the space for it, that's my goal in life. Is I gotta at least have a couple dogs. So, yeah. And then lastly, the only other thing I can think about is I've seen from the reception and some of the people that are liking these posts, we've got some potential recruits on here. So if you had to give your elevator pitch for why you should come to UMW to swim and to study, what would you say?
I would say that UMW is the most special swim team that I've ever been a part of, and it's really an incredible and very unique experience. The team is very close-knit, and as well as the school, and I don't think you can go wrong with choosing to swim here.
I would say if you want to swim, come to UMW. If that's even an option in your brain, like maybe I'll come here, you should probably just come here because it's just like comfortable. Like there's people of all different abilities and all different academics. Like obviously we're all different strokes, all different majors. Like we come from different places, and it's just a place where people like us come together and really fit in with each other and have a great time and make lifelong friends. So
Yeah, I would say it's like the perfect balance. The athletics are great and the education is great.
UMW really is a place where you can be totally involved and engrossed in your sport and be all about swimming all the time. Well, when you're not in the swimming environment, you can focus on other things like your school and like your future career. And like it really does allow you time to do both of those things simultaneously, which I think is pretty unique because I think a lot of schools probably pitch that, but it honestly is the truth here. And I think that's a perfect balance.
I love all of those points. I think they're all super valid. And well, that's all I have for you. So thank you for coming on. I feel like we had some really, really productive conversations about 200 race strategies and even some of those feelings about going to high level meets for the first time. So really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on and can't wait for this one to come out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
This was
Alrighty. Take care, y'all.
You too.